All right, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Quick 56 Chevrolet Gasser. So in this episode, the Shermanator's coming over to do some more metal work, and I modify some suspension components so we can get this thing steering, and we get underway on our electric power steering column. And action. Okay, so we have our housing located underneath the car. We've got everything centered and everything. We need to get the lower coilover mount mounted to it. So normally I buy these. Again, sometimes things are just cheaper to buy than to cut it out my plasma table. However, this rear end has a back brace on there, so this would have to get cut off right here, and then you would have actually less than 90 degrees of weld surface to hold that on there. Well, plus the back of the bottom of the back brace. So what we did is we made this. You can see the difference here. This reaches up around the front side of the housing so we can get a larger weld surface area plus the back brace. And I extended this 3 degrees, or rotated all this stuff. So that way, because the housing sits at 3 degrees to match the engine setback. So this allows the coilover to sit straight up and down, and so when it drops, you don't have any interference from the coils hitting the housing. So let's get this under there, located, and tacked. So next on the agenda is to get the fenders and the hood all mated together. So we're gonna have to grind about 4 pounds of filler out of the edge of this thing, but then we'll clean up the edge of the fender, and we're just gonna tack weld some washers up and down, and that way we can get it all one piece. And then we also have the doors, so we'll fit the doors to the car first, and then we'll set this on there and get our height and start building the inner structure for this so we can figure out our pivot point on our subframe. Okay, so Sherman's been here working on this quarter panel. So this was all not there. And then this up here has to be gas welded together because it's tore. But it is now not all sucked in to where we don't have to put 48 gallons of Bondo on it. So it's going to work on that a little bit more. And he made this more round. It was kind of not there before. So fix that. And then the door, see, this is a passenger side door. You can see the crease right there. That was kicked in pretty good. Needs a little bit more work. And then somebody had put holes. See if you can see that. They put holes in there to, I don't know, maybe for the Bondo to like stick in, but that was terrible. So he pulled that out, and now he's gonna gas weld all the holes in there. Oh, there it is. And then this one looks like, I don't know, the jack handle hit it in a couple spots. So we're gonna fix that, fill some holes. As soon as that's done, we're gonna get the chassis or the car out so we can sandblast the rockers, which I should have done before, but I think we ran out of sand. But anyway, we're gonna get that out there and just blast those areas. It's just way easier to clean before we put the new rockers that are getting hopefully next week. And as soon as we get those in there, we'll get those on there. But I would imagine by tonight we may have this off the rack so we can get, I just walked past it too, so we can get our front wrap that we tacked together here. You can see here. Fenders are actually in decent shape. There was some patchwork done to them, but for what we're doing, it's going to be awesome. So, all right, let's move forward. So in the parts that I buy for my gasser kit, it comes with the 7/8 DOM steering arm that goes from side to side on our flat steering arms. And what we do is we end up using this 1.25" 120 wall tube, and we use these FK bungs. And what that does is it gives us a fatter diameter and it has less deflection in it. So we had a problem with our hot rods, not necessarily the gasser kits, with them flexing, and it had something to do with wheelies. But I already had to build the steering arm that goes from the pitman arm to the upper arm here for the steering, but it's a lot shorter distance. So we end up using this, cut it down, thread the end that we cut for that, and then upgrade the steering arm in the back. So we have the original drag link all cut down and tapped, and we threw heim joints in it and attached it to our pitman arm and our passenger side upper steering arm. And now we're going to show you what we're going to do for the rest of the steering. So there's more metal work to be done on the car, and while that's happening, I'm going to try to make this Toyota power steering column fit in this thing. So we're going to get rid of the clutch pedal because this is going to be an automatic car, and hopefully that'll give me enough room to where I can build brackets for this thing to bolt up in there. So we cut this thing right about here, and we're going to take this U-joint off. So we're just going to utilize this portion of it. We're going to get all these brackets off here, and then get it all fabricated so that way, hopefully, if this thing will bolt in there where I think it will, I can duplicate the brackets and put it in my 55 as well. Okay, we got the U-joint off and the steering wheel column taken off. This part should slide out, so that's splined. That's the end that our steering shaft will come up, and our steering wheel will sit here. But we got to get, actually, I may get the clutch pedal out of there first, and so I definitely won't need that. But this doesn't work. Oh, I don't know. We might be able to use that, but let's make some room in there and see what happens. Okay, so there is a spring under here that assists the clutch, and I'm assuming there's probably a YouTube video on taking that spring out so you don't lose an eye, but I'm not going to be watching that video. So I think if I just loosen that bolt, it will pivot up and release the spring. I don't know. Let's find out. Nope. Oh, you know what? Take it like that. Didn't even lose an eye. That's some archaic stuff, but effective. Remember, you're only 2 YouTube videos away from being a professional, but probably not on this channel. Oh, well, a little ahead of myself. Gotta get the clutch pedal off. I just got the spring that's gonna take out my eye. Okay, so then we have to take this. What is that for? Oh, the clutch rod. Yeah, we gotta take the clutch rod bracket off, and then this slides out. So I'm going to do that first. So we got a whole bunch of stuff going on today. So we're building an outrigger that's going to come off the frame down here and come out. So that way when we get our roll bar in here, it's going to come down close to the dash. It's going to land right here by the door. So now we have the outriggers tacked onto the frame, and I drew 4 squares on the floor where we're going to cut out for the roll bar to come through. So there's still more metal work to be done on the doors, and while Sherman's doing that, we're going to do roll bar stuff, and I want to get the knee bar in there so that way I can attach the power steering column to, because that's what we did on the GTO and it worked out awesome. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I just want it to turn out the same way. And we're not going to weld the cage in just yet. Where it's welded, we're going to mark everything and pull it all out piece by piece, and we're going to paint everywhere except for where we're going to weld. So that way the body's going to come back off. We're going to finish weld, paint, plumb the frame, then we'll undercoat the bottom of the chassis or the body, but we do have to do the rockers too. So it's going to be a while, but then we'll put the body back on there for the final time, and then we'll already have a cage built. We'll throw it in there, and then wherever we weld, that's where we're going to touch up the paint, because it's really hard to get on the top of the bar that's close to the roof and all that. So anyway, we're going to sling some tube here pretty soon, and then we need to mock up rear wheels and tires, like the 29.5 tires that I want to run, because I think I need to increase the wheel well radius just a little bit. I cut them a little bit short just because, but I grabbed a 29.5 and I need a bigger hole, which is going to be awesome. And then our biggest decision, we need to figure out if we're running a small block or a big block, because I need to order the center section for the rear end, and then we can get the right gears. So just to show you where we're at, this bracket right here, there's 2 bolts, it comes off, and I put an angle iron bracket on here just with a couple tacks, and marked the hole and drilled it, so that way it'll hold the bottom, so that way it can really focus on what I need to do up top here. I'm going to put this in there so I don't lose it. I like losing stuff. Right there. This works. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. But that clears. That makes me happy. Huh. Not sure how I like that big ol' motor sitting down there. And I really wish this was over, which I can cut this and move it over, but I'm a left foot breaker, so that's why I like it. I don't know. I mean, that's not really going to hurt anything, but it will definitely not work if you have a clutch pedal. That is the only bad part. I really don't think I can get that in my 55. Okay, so I had a 3/4 36 spline to 3/4 double D U-joint for the box. I ordered an 11/16 32 splined to 3/4 double D, and that's coming tomorrow, and so is the 3/4 double D shaft. Hold on. just saw this on the shelf. It's not long enough, but so I ordered a 36-inch one, and that'll line up really nice. The headers will still go, they go way up and around it, so that's awesome. Not liking where the motor is positioned on the power steering column. I want to rotate that, so I'm going to work on that, but essentially that's not going to change. It's just going to pivot. So hopefully there's nothing on this when I pivot it. It's not going to be in the way of the brake pedal, because right now it's pretty close. But I'm 93.8% sure I can make this work, but 100% sure it is not going to fit in my 55. So there's just not enough room if you have a clutch pedal. Well, that's all for today here at Dive Bomber's Garage. Join us next time when we will be getting some roll bar tubing out and starting to bend that up so we can get the cage in and the upper steering mount on our electric power steering column. Also, we need to make a decision on a motor. What should we do? Small block, big block, Oldsmobile motor? Let us know in the comments, and as always, best way to support the channel, buy some merch at divebombersgarage.com.